Welcome into Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is David Wilson. We warned y'all yesterday Wade Neely wouldn't be with us today. David sitting in for the King of Pulaski today. David, thanks for coming on with us, man.
Good to be with you again today, Mo. I filled in for Wade several times throughout the summer, so this is no new job for me, I guess. Happy to fill in his shoes and be alongside you as we talk a little All-Star game, a little NASCAR, all things sports this afternoon as we kind of hit that lull in the summer where we're trying to find things to talk about.
Yeah, we are kind of there. It's not the dog days. Those are still a little bit away, but here in terms of sports talk, we are kind of in a little bit low right now. We do have the All-Star game to talk about and plenty to talk about in that. So we will definitely be discussing last night's Midsummer Classic. Also, we'll be talking little TSU hockey. We've talked about that. We'll talk about that some more here over the next couple of hours. We'll be talking some college football, particularly from the Southeastern Conference, but elsewhere as well. Get into a little hoops, both men's and women's. Talk some NFL, a little golf. The Nashville Soccer Club has a big match tonight. We'll get into that a little bit. We will visit in the second hour with Heather Williams from WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR. In the next segment, we'll be joined by DONNELL SUGGS of the Atlanta Voice to talk about the All-Star game. And in our final segment today, it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday, bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the universe. Yes, I said it. Stick around, you'll see what I'm talking about. But at any rate, a lot to get to today. A lot of fun to be had. Going to be here with you for the next couple of hours talking about all sports, local, regionally, and nationally. So stick around with us. Have fun with that. David, what do you say we go ahead and get started with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown?
This is the Rundown.
Last night, the Midsummer Classic, the MLB All-Star Game, the 95th edition was in our city, the ATL Atlanta, and the National League pulls out the win in a swing-off. The first ever swing-off in the MLB All-Star Game goes to the National League as they officially defeat the American League 7-6. They win the swing-off 4-3. Kyle Schwarber with 3 home runs in the second round of the swing-off to get it done for the National League. And, they kind of put a dent in the American League dominance that is the All-Star Game. The American League had won 11 of the last 12 All-Star games in Major League Baseball prior to last night. So the National League gets it done at Truist Park in Atlanta. Great festivities there. We'll get in with DONNELL SUGGS of the Atlanta Voice, as Mo mentioned here shortly. In the W last night, the Indiana Fever defeat the Connecticut Sun 85-77, despite Caitlin Clark going down with a growing injury yet again. Also in the W, the Los Angeles Sparks defeated the Washington Mystics 99-80. 3 scorers and scored above 20 points, for the Sparks last night, including former Tennessee Vol, Kriya Jackson had 22 points in that game as well.
Nice big win for the Sparks there. Tonight's schedule at 7:30. You can see it on Apple TV. The Nashville Soccer Club is hosting the Columbus Crew at Geodis Park. Big game, I think, for the boys in gold. As we've talked about here over the past few days, coming off of that loss down at Inter Miami over the weekend. So Columbus Crew coming into Geodis, taking on NSC. Again, that's a 7:30 first touch. You can see it on Apple TV. In the W, we've already got a couple of finals as the Minnesota Lynx defeated the Phoenix Mercury 79-66. Also, the Atlanta Dream big over the Chicago Sky 86-49. Tipping off probably here in the last couple of minutes, Golden State is at Seattle. It's the Valkyries and the Storm facing off on the West Coast. Tonight, 6:30 start. You can see it on CBS Sports Network. It's the Indiana Fever playing a back-to-back. Going to New York, taking on the Liberty. I'll be interested to see if Caitlin Clark is out there. As David mentioned, re-aggravated that groin injury last night in that win over the Sun. We'll talk more about that later in the show. 7 o'clock tonight is the Las Vegas Aces taking on the Dallas Wings. And Aces, not themselves here of late. Dallas Wings kind of struggling all season. So it'll be interesting to see how this one comes out. Asia Wilson, Paige Beckers, keep an eye on it. 7 o'clock tonight, Aces Wings. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, top story. Yeah, we talked last week, maybe it was, about Tennessee State's budding men's hockey program bidding to become the first historically black college or university men's hockey team to hit the ice. Was scheduled to come online this school year for the 25-26 season. It has been pushed back now to the 26-27 season, but they are getting some, I guess they've been thrown a little bit of a rope by the National Hockey League, the Nashville Predators, and College Hockey Inc. $250,000 a grant coming from the NHL and the NHLPA's Industry Growth Fund. The NHL and the Predators, we agree that an additional year will provide the program with the time and resources it needs to launch at full strength and with long-term financial success in mind. That is from TSU President Dwayne Tucker. The extra time and the extra financial backing is expected to help the Ice Tigers strengthen their recruiting, facility planning, staff development, and fundraising efforts. This will lay the groundwork for a sustainable program, which is always good, while also matching a broader path to introduce hockey to new diverse communities. So, again, as Wade and I talked when we discussed this initially, you hate that they have kind of hit a snag in terms of the timing of the program coming online, but at the same time, once they get going, you want them to all sustain it, as they mentioned there. You know, we've talked here in the last couple of months about Fisk shutting down its women's gymnastics program that was the first of its kind among HBCUs, and they lasted 2 years, I guess. Drew a lot of national attention, and it's tough when you do something like that, when you're the first to do something like that, and you can't keep it going for an extended period of time. So taking a step back feels like the right thing to do for TSU in order to give themselves the best chance to be successful long term. But again, they're getting $250,000 from the NHL and the Nashville Predators to help them in their efforts, and that can't hurt.
Yeah, Mo, it makes sense to me. I remember when this got announced that TSU was going to have hockey. This was announced during the NHL draft when I was here in Nashville. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman was alongside as the decision was made alongside the Predators regime as well. So it seems like all three parties have kind of been linked together. You know, so this announcement obviously is going to have an effect with the Nashville Predators as well. Hockey within Nashville, a college university. It seems like the Predators have their foot in their hand in it. And so they want to be a part of that and try to give TSU as much, I guess, success as possible to get it launched and get it started and get it on the ground. Because who knows where it could go? You know, first of its kind, it's historic. And so I think the Predators and the NHL overall want to see more diversity and inclusion. I know we don't like to talk about that as a society now, but, you know, it's important. You know, the NHL is trying to find ways to grow its audience and its hockey base. And having it on a historically black college is definitely worth their time and commitment.
Yeah, I mean, it's only going to benefit hockey as a sport, the National Hockey League as a league, it's going to be good for everybody to get this going and to have it be successful once it gets going. So, and what did you see? You saw three first rounders, three of color, I guess, in the last NHL draft here that just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, strides are being made. You want to continue to try to make those strides. And again, it just feels like in the long run, this is going to be the best thing for TSU, taking a step back and making sure that they've got all of their I's dotted and their T's crossed when they get ready to go forward with this.
Yeah, I think an important thing to mention, Mo, is hockey costs money. Uniforms, equipment, ice time, like all those things matter and they play a factor. So resource-wise, you want to have your I's, your dotted and your T's crossed to be able to get this thing off the ground and do it the right way. Kind of as you mentioned, you want to have that backing and those resources in place where when you do this, it is ready to go and you're able to provide the resources to these student athletes and to these coaching staffs and these coaches as much as possible to get it started. That way it's on the right footing and keep going.
Absolutely. And you know, that's one of the things that Wade and I discussed as they push this back a year. I wonder how many of the prospective hockey players either are already on campus enrolled in classes or were set to come in this year, obviously, as they were set to play this year. So I wonder how this impacts short-term, long-term recruiting, this delay of getting the program on the ice.
Yeah, that's a valid point too, Mo. Obviously, you're going to have not all freshmen on the team. I would assume you're going to have some upperclassmen as well that are going to have to get their credits in their schools to fill out the length of the roster. Forgive me, I don't know how many people are normally carried on a college hockey roster, but you're going to have some depth and things of that nature. So it's not just strictly going to be freshmen. It's going to be seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen as well. So it's going to be a steady mix. So you might have people on the team that are just going to be there for 1 year, but that's what's needed to get the program launched, to get going as you get those initial recruiting classes into the mix and into the fold.
Yeah. So obviously we'll be keeping an eye on that. Obviously it's on the ice, but it's a hot topic, and we'll be watching the Ice Tigers as they continue working toward debuting in 26-27 under Dwante Abercrombie. So again, $250,000 influx into the program can't hurt their efforts to get this program off the ground. Looking forward to see it. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance. Come back, talk a little bit about the All-Star Game with the editor-in-chief of the Atlanta Voice, DONNELL SUGGS, when we come back.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
333.
Oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now I'm
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
July 16, 2006 was two-run home run off San Diego's Jake Peavy in the fourth inning. Third baseman Chipper Jones extended his streak of games with an extra base hit to 14 straight. The last Major League Baseball player to compile such a run was Pittsburgh outfielder Paul Wainer, Big Poison, in 1927. Chipper's bomb was part of a 6-run rally as visiting Atlanta snapped a 1-1 deadlock en route to a 10-5 win at San Diego, with Jones going 3 for 3 with a pair of runs and 3 RBIs. That was this day in Braves history. Yesterday won't necessarily go down as a Braves history date, but it was certainly historic on a number of different fronts as the Midsummer Classic took place at Truist Park in Atlanta last night. Again, as David mentioned, it's decided on a swing off, the first in MLB All-Star history. On hand, that and more from the Atlanta Voice, editor-in-chief DONNELL SUGGS joins us here on Main Street Sports today. Mr. Suggs, good afternoon.
Afternoon, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
We're doing well, man. Appreciate you taking some time with late night last night, huh?
Late night all week. And weekend. Yeah, it's been great, though. It was also week owes us nothing in Atlanta. It was perfect. It really was.
That's fantastic. Bring us up to speed. Now, you were out there Friday night for the HBU Swingman Classic, right?
Yes, sir. That was fantastic, man. I mean, again, someone that covers the Braves is at Truist Park and in the Battery a lot. With all due respect, it had a different hue. It was a different look. It was unbelievable to see that many baseball fans with their FAMUs and their Howards and their Morehouse sweatshirts and sweaters and whatnot. Totally different vibe. Not saying it's better or worse, but it had a different vibe, and it was easy to see, and it was really a really cool environment. It was.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then obviously the draft starting up on Sunday. And the Braves, we talked about it on Monday, Wade and I did. They kind of took a different tack than they typically had. 4 of their first 5 selections were bats and not arms.
And not only were they bats, the first 3 selections all played shortstop, 2 high school and 1 college. Braves, what Braves do. They just grab some arms. They're quick to grab arms. Majority will be arms, and we'll worry about bats later. And this time they went and addressed immediate need. Now, of course, you know how this goes. You're not going to see these guys for a while. So everybody calm down. But that being said, they want to fill the tank up with a bunch of shortstops to see whoever rises to the top.
Now, that said, though, Alex Lodis from Florida State could be a high riser, right?
Oh, he's a big-time ball player, though. So there's no question. If you see him next year, it wouldn't be shocking. But again, I just think people say, "Oh, draft." Okay, well, good, because Nick Allen can hit. No. Nick Allen's still better than anybody that played high school ball in 2025 or 2024, rather. So we won't see him now, but it's a clear need that position should be contributing offensively a little bit more than it has been.
Yeah. And then obviously the home run derby on Monday night, and Matt Olson didn't have the performance that he hoped to, obviously, but still a great experience for him, the Atlanta kid himself.
He talked to us a lot about how when he was a kid, a very young, small kid, and his family was at the All-Star game in 2000, they went to the home run derby. And to be in it is pretty cool. Again, it was supposed to be Ronald Acuna. it wasn't smart for Ronald Acuna to be taking all these swings. Matt Olson stepped up and he had a really good home run derby if you think about it with 15 points. It wasn't enough in particular for the first round. But he lit the night up. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And speaking of home run derbies, you get a swing off last night. Did everybody in the press box know what was going on when it ended 6-6 at the bottom of the ninth and what was going to happen next?
Mo, listen to me. I've known you a long time. Listen to me. I've never been in a press box before where all these adult men and women are looking at each other like, what is this? What is going on? I don't believe anyone really knew what was happening. I'm serious. Baseball writers, foreign, out of town, you name it. Everyone was there. There was like a Japanese contingent that only covers Ohtani. They're looking at each other. They're looking back at me. I'm like, I can't help you. It was weird. 6-6. Okay, cool. Put the guy on second base. Let's get this knocked out. Totally different thing. Totally different. So it had to be shocking the fans.
That said, how do you feel like it went over when the smoke was cleared?
Okay, forget what we think as the press. We'll talk about fans. Fans love it. It's home runs. It's big swings. They love that kind of stuff. It was cool. It was cool to have some big bats get up there and try to knock the heck out of the ball, and it counts towards something other than the trophy. So that was cool. That was a cool moment. Could there have been maybe Matt Olson get another shot at it? That would have been kind of nice, but whatever. It went over well. Again, people like new stuff. People still like the dunk contest for some reason. The three-point contest plays over well, and the home run derby always plays well. So you took that and just ran with it. It worked for the fans. It felt like it worked for the fans.
There you go. David, I know you've got some questions, and I don't want to step all over you. So talk to Donnell.
Donnell, it seems like the Battery, the community around the ballpark at Truist Park is built for events like this to host at the Roxy Theater, all the restaurants that are outside of the right field gate. Just kind of talk about, how people enjoyed the atmosphere and the way the Braves kind of did things this weekend from start to finish. It seemed like from the Futures game to the home run derby to the draft, obviously to the game last night, the environment was conducive to host an all-star game kind of festivities.
David, when I walked out last night, it was very late. It was the next day. I walked out, I thought to myself, I think MLB should give it to Atlanta every 10 years. Just give it to Atlanta every 10 years. I know we can't do it every 5, but just give it to us every 10 years. The Battery is built for multi-day, multi-event. Hey, don't go anywhere. Restaurants, hotels, bars, event spaces, all on the grounds. You don't have to leave. Enjoy this weekend. Enjoy these 3-4 days. It was perfect. You don't want to knock a Yankee Stadium, of course. You don't want to knock a Citi Field. You don't want to knock Chicago, which South Side or North Side can totally do it. But, man, the Battery felt like it was built for this past couple of days, and they showed out. I'd be surprised if Atlanta doesn't get it within 15, 16 years. Kind of like how New Orleans does it. We have a Super Bowl in New Orleans a lot. Just do it. Just give it to us 10 years from now. No one's going to remember that we had it in 2025. Just toss it in there. They'll come back.
I've not been to enough other Major League Baseball games in enough other cities to have a feel, but I don't know that I've been any place that has a setup like the Battery and Truist Park. Donnell, are you familiar with anybody else that does it quite like that?
This season, in particular, I was in Colorado and for that series, and that's a really cool ballpark. It's a downtown ballpark, but that being said, it's a great location, but it's near the bars and it's near the restaurants and it's near cool stuff, but you have to leave. Nothing is like Truist Park where you really don't have to leave the Battery. Just walk outside the stadium, and then within 5 feet, you can do 5 other things. It is a very unique setup. I think it's worth a conversation of having it and not waiting another 25 years to do it.
I can tell you from personal experience, a couple of weeks ago, we went down for the Philadelphia game on a Saturday night, and it was getting ready to rain. So we bailed, and we went to the bar right there at the right field corner, Blue Moon, and
Brewery,
and hung out for the rest of the game. I mean, I'm typically not one to leave a ball game, but I'm also not one to get wet. So we dipped in there for the end of that game that night. And to your point, there are a lot of parks and a lot of cities that have a lot of bars near the park, but you can't step out of the park and into a bar quite like that. So it's a it feels like a pretty unique setup. And obviously you having a little bit more experience than I do, you kind of bear that out as well. So
there's like 5 places like that, what you mentioned. Blue Moon, there's like 5 other places just like that within 1,000 feet where you can say, oh, forget it, I'll go, it's just crowded, I'll go there. Full meal, watch the game. The Battery's the only place where you don't have to buy a ticket to the ball game and feel like you're at a Braves game. Just park, eat, watch the game on a big screen outside. You can hear it. It's all the whole thing about being in baseball. But if you're someone that doesn't really love 9 innings, go to the Battery and kick it for 5 innings without having to buy a ticket. You still feel like you're a part of the environment. It is extremely unique.
We need to get on the Braves payroll for this PSA that we're doing here.
But Cobb County, right? The county's payroll.
Yeah. Donnell SUGGS of the Atlanta Voice joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Donnell, we talked on this show about whether or not Paul Skeens should get the start for the National League. He did, and I think I saw where he is one of 5 guys now that have started All-Star games in each of their first 2 MLB seasons. 3 of the other 4 are in the Hall of Fame. Ichiro will make it 4 later this summer, and Skeens lived up to the hype.
I mean, electric, struck out 2 of the 3 guys he faced. The third didn't have a better, he grounded the second. If he's not in Pittsburgh and Skeens is in, I'll just give you a big, with all due respect to Pittsburgh, if he's a Chicago White Sox, no, they're not good. If he's pitching for the Cubs, we're all over this guy. And he's got TV commercials. He's got all kinds, and he's got a lot going on. But he doesn't get the run support. And it is also Pittsburgh, with all due respect, it's just not a major market anymore like it was. Maybe you and I were kids. That team was really good, and they were baseball royalty. Man, this guy's in Atlanta, forget about it. Forget about it, dude. He's on billboards, and he's getting a lot more money not playing baseball if he's on a really big-time market. He's really good.
Donnell, to jump in really quick before Mo hits you with another one, something that was really interesting to me last night was the ABS challenge system coming to the big leagues in the All-Star game for the first time. We saw the first challenge with Manny Machado get struck out on a borderline pitch. Talk to me about the reception and the conversations in the media about the ABS challenge, and maybe some conversations you guys had with players as well. Are they kind of ready for that to be a part of the game now?
Players are cool with it because they're thinking is, listen, every other sport is kind of ratcheting up computers and technology, whatnot. So we're fine with that because I'm going to argue with this guy anyway about balls and strikes. So there's no point in not having a checking system. It was very quick. It only took like 10 seconds, so it didn't hold the game up. It wasn't like you even realized it was being used. Unlike in the NBA where everybody's doing this every 5 seconds, ball players are not doing that. So it was cool. It kind of came in play, came in, strike. That's it. So it was cool. So ball players are with it, and fans seem to enjoy it because, again, it didn't take a lot of time. You see the NBA stuff where they'll say, all right, wait a minute, we'll see if it's a flagrant foul. Sometimes that takes 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. And late in the game, there's already a lot of timeouts. This seemed to be really smooth. So I can't see why we tossed it in. Well, I don't know if you want to do that in the postseason. You want to introduce it now. We don't want to introduce it like in September. But if we were, I don't see why it would kind of change the flow of the game.
And both the challenges that I saw went in favor of whoever was challenging. So they got it right. And I think that's got to be the key, particularly in this sport, whatever it takes to get the call right.
Right. Again, human error is part of baseball. How many times the Kansas City and St. Louis, a World Series was decided on a play, you know? Kent Herbeck, people are still mad about him lifting up Ron Gant off the first base. People still
it's on site if I see Kent Herbeck out.
Everyone still hates him. It's amazing. And it's just like human error is part of baseball, but we can get these things kind of right. There's a lot on the line a lot of times. We just can't allow, certain stuff not to be double checked. So
especially when you've got the mechanisms to get it right.
The technology exists. We're not reaching out to some far off place. It exists. Let's use it. The home run off, whatever you want to call it, hit off, whatever. Let's don't use that though. That sucks.
Scared they're gonna
use that in a big game one day.
We talked about Olsen He didn't necessarily have a great night with the bat, but that play that he made in the ninth inning, man, to save a run before the American League did ultimately tie it up. But Matt Olson, Gold Glove winner in the National League, as far as I'm concerned.
Unbelievable glove, and that's the one thing that's really helped him get over. Well, he hits more home runs than Freddie does, but Freddie's a legend. People, he's still tearing up every time they say his name, and people are still screaming his name. I love that Freddie gets the love, but Matt Olson's glove is the one thing we got immediately, and the power that kind of helps with the fact that you lost a future Hall of Famer at first base. His glove is he does that every week, something like that. He does every week, unassisted double plays and big plays like that. He is huge on first base for the Braves on both offense and defense.
And then Acuna scores in the first inning to help. They scored 2 runs in the first. They led 6-0, the National League did. So, I mean, both your Braves that played in the All-Star game had a pretty good night.
I mean, you got what you wanted. You got a chance to see them. They both did something important. I would have liked to have seen Matt Olson in that little home run thing. That would have been cool, just to have one more Brave get up with something on the line. But either way, I think they both did well. Now it's time to start playing ball that counts, and that starts on Friday. Not to jump ahead, I'm just saying.
No, you're fine. But before we get to Friday, though, Donnell, what was your reaction to the Hank Aaron tribute that they did at the bottom of the 6th?
Mo, the last time I cried was my mother's funeral, right? I don't do that a lot. Dude, on point. Really good. And having Miss Aaron, I knew she was going to be there. Billy Aaron, his widow, I knew she would be there. They do a great job of always including her. It was CC Sabathia when they got this thing started. It was phenomenal, man. It was spot on to have the video going, have the call live and whatnot. Because usually you'll see the one pitch. You always see the one he hit, and that's it. But to have a little extended call, that was really cool, man. They did great by Hank. They did fantastic.
I thought they did fantastic, and you're right. I kind of teared up myself doing it right now, actually. But for those who did not get to see this, we're gonna run it, and it's almost 3 minutes, but
worth it.
It will give you chills. Mark.
And it doesn't take a mind reader to read the collective mind that's here in this ballpark tonight. They came to see him pass the babe.
Once again, a standing ovation for Henry Aaron. So the confrontation for the second time. Aaron walked in the second inning. He means the tying run at the plate now. So we'll see what Downing does. Al at the belt, delivers, and he's low, ball one. And that just adds to the pressure.
He's sitting on 7-14. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. The fireworks are going. Henry Aaron is coming around third. His teammates are at home plate. And listen to this crowd.
What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world.
I think that people can look at me and say, you know, he was a great baseball player, but he was even a greater human being.
You know, MLB screws up a lot.
They do, man, but not there.
Not there.
No way,
That's great stuff right there. Donnell Suggs of the Atlanta Voice joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Alliance, Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. D-Dub.
Donnell, obviously the Braves community, the Braves fans did a great job of kind of showering Matt Olson, Chris Sale, and Ronald Acuna with a lot of love this weekend, despite kind of the way that the team has been playing on the field this year. You kind of mentioned it's time to get going with the second half of the season, this Friday versus New York Yankees. Where do you see this team at? Obviously, the trade deadline is nearing, and the Braves are going to be a topic of conversation of, who do they sell? Do they, Alex has kind of came out and said, we're not going to trade people that have player control, but, there's some roster decisions that have to be made for this team for looking to the future, because this season kind of seems like a wash almost already.
You know what? I got to say this. Alex Anthopoulos has been clear about this. Snicker doesn't even talk about it. Snicker does. He shoos it away like a fly, like, hey, listen, I don't care about that kind of stuff. We're playing. This is a halfway point. They've got to play really well. And his thinking is, we were good enough and talented enough to play really well in order to make a run at this thing. So they're not sellers right now. Everybody's dying to see what they can get for this and get for that. It's even crazy enough. I'm hearing people thinking about what can we get for Ronald Acuna, which is unbelievable. There's not 5 human beings on the planet better at baseball than him. So why in the world who would you trade him for, Ohtani? Like, there's nobody else you can trade him for. So they're not sellers. So let's skip on past that and go into the fact that the Braves have a ton of home games coming up, 6 straight. You win 6 straight and guys lose. Next year, we're having a different conversation. They think they're talented enough to make a run. It's got to be an unbelievable run. You got to play like 75. You got to win 75% of your games. It's asking a lot. But I don't think this team is thinking about selling. I think they're thinking about going on a run. And they're talented enough to do it. They really are, though.
Now, Donnell, I agree with you. I feel like the offense is talented enough to do it. But when you look up and Sales – going to be out for at least another month. Swellenbach's going to be out for at least another month. I mean, how do you piece together enough pitching behind a hopefully improved Strider and a really consistent but doesn't need to be a frontline starter for you, Grant Holmes?
Grant Holmes is my hero, man. That guy gets out there and he gets out there and takes everybody's best punch and fights, and he'll give you 6. He might give up, let's say he give up 2, and he kept them there. And for some reason, the bats don't seem to want to acknowledge his effort. But again, you mentioned it. We got to see Spencer Strider going forward. There's enough of the excuses. You got to get the best of Spencer Strider. And he always is quick to take it and say, it's my fault. I didn't do enough. So I'm thinking with a little bit of rest, and he's gotten some, maybe he gets fired up with this Yankees series. Don't forget the Giants are after that. So those are really good teams to play back to back. Maybe we get fired up, but you can't do anything without Bryce Elder and Spencer Strider pitching their tails off going forward. And they can't duplicate whatever else they've done so far. So it really does boil down to pitching, and I hate to do that, but it really does boil down to starting pitching. And it can't just be, Grant Holmes has put up another effort. It's not a win. It's an effort. They need wins.
And again, it is the Yankees coming into town Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've talked about Freddie Freeman. We've got another ex-Brave. I don't know how the rotation is going to shake out for the Yankees, but I can't imagine us not seeing Max Fried this weekend.
He got a great ovation when they just listened to the lineups. He didn't start, obviously, so he was one of the first names just mentioned when they were just going through the American League. Super loud applause. Everyone loved Max Fried. They understood it was a money move. Max deserved it. He was kind of coming off injury, pitched decent, and then got an offer that he couldn't refuse. No one's holding against Max. He's loved like Freddie was. When they mentioned Max Fried, he got really loud. You would think he was a starter or something, or a Brave. So I can't wait to see. I mean, I can't imagine why he's not in the rotation. That'd be kind of crazy to not take full advantage of that. But we'll see. I'll get all that probably by tomorrow morning. So we'll see. But if Max Fried is starting one of these games, and God forbid it's not a Saturday at 7 o'clock at night, it's going to be crazy out there. But you got to win, though. All that aside, they're going to give them an ovation and everything, but they got to win these games. They got to win them. You got to win these series.
Again, going back to David's question, though, I mean, does a Sean Murphy move? Does a Marcell Ozuna move? Guys who are at the tail end of contracts, that kind of thing. I mean, it just feels like if nothing else, to kind of break up the monotony a little bit, something needs to happen in that clubhouse.
Right, because Snickers moved people around the lineups a little bit. And Ozuna had a decent series in St. Louis. It's like, Mo, you want to sell me this car, and you waited until like your car's in your last leg. You're like, okay, now I got to sell it. That's Ozuna. Last year, he had a lot of buyers. Early in the season, they still had a bunch. Now you're asking me to take your damaged goods. What am I going to give you? Some prospects, I'm assuming. I'm not giving you any starters at DH. Sean Murphy, and you want to keep him because worst case scenario, he's a really good catcher, but he's also one of the few bats you have that actually swing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to leave the young fella at catcher by himself. You want two catchers. That's a luxury we have. So I just don't understand why you would move Sean Murphy when he's one of the few bats you have that are hitting, him and Olsen. And then you don't want to end up having just one catcher because now you're working the kid to death. So I just don't think they're sellers. I think they're going to hang tight. Ozuna's not – I mean, they're probably a seller. I don't know if there's any buyers. He's not playing well. He's got to get this hip surgery, and he's not going to do it now because once you do it, you're done. So he's going to hang in there, keep on trying to swing his way out of it. And I just don't see why I would help you out in the National League and help you out. So maybe an American League team would do it, but then what do you get back? Some prospects?
Yeah.
Not a bat in your lineup.
You know, Donnell, you said that they would really have to kind of play out of their mind in this second half to make the postseason. They've got a lot of teams to climb over. In addition to them getting hot, they'd have to have a lot of help, obviously. Mm-hmm. What from where they are right now at 42-53, what constitutes a successful second half for this team at this point?
Beating teams like the Giants, who are not in first place in NL West, who are not even in second place. You got to catch a lot of guys who are playing well but not playing that great, and you need to be the one that plays better. Every series going forward, you got to take 2 out of 3. I know it sounds impossible. You can't win every series. They can't afford not to. They got 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. That was a good step. Okay, great. Don't worry about the third game. That was a mess. It took like 5 hours to finish. They've got to take 2 out of 3 from San Francisco and teams like that. What you got? You got Texas and Kansas City. All right. Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Miami. You got to take those. You can't keep on losing games to those teams who are all stacked underneath the division leaders. I didn't name a single division leader, but I named a team that was close. They're above you. So a 3-game series in Milwaukee, at home against Milwaukee, you got to take all those. Another 3-game series in Miami, you got to take all those. This is a doubleheader, actually. You need to take all 4. Like, they have to take advantage of the fact that when you play at home and you play at Miami or Milwaukee, who are not bad but not great, the Braves are supposed to beat those teams. It's a long way to go. Out of the last 70, you got to win like 45. It's asking a lot. It's not impossible, though.
Okay. There we go. I like the positivity.
I've got nowhere to go. I've got to be there anyway. So might as well stay positive.
There you go. Donnell Suggs, editor-in-chief of the Atlanta Voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Donnell, as always, we appreciate your insight, appreciate your time, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
I'll be at the Yankee games, man. Hit me up. You know I'll be out there.
We'll do it, man. We'll talk to you.
Thank you, brothers. I appreciate y'all.
All right. Let's take a break here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday on Main Street Sports Today. When we come back, we'll talk a little college football. It's right around the corner. Like it or not, stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
While a Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's David Wilson. I'm Maurice Patton. SEC Football Media Days continue down in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. Today we had Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, and Oklahoma in the building. But earlier this week we heard from, among others, Tennessee and Vanderbilt, Coach Josh Heupel and Coach Clark Lee. The Volunteers were part of yesterday's contingent. Vanderbilt helped kick things off on Monday. And, of course, both of them had things to say about the quarterback situations in their respective programs. I mean, how can you not, right? With the turmoil that UT had at that position back in the spring, and with the fantastic performance that the Commodores got at that position last fall. But first, Mark, do we have the comments from Josh Heupel on video?
Yeah.
People lose quarterbacks in the portal these days, but you lost one at a unique time at the end of spring. What have you guys done to that point in the possibility of losing a quarterback? What did you do in scramble mode? And going forward, what can programs do to prepare for that kind of unique situation?
Well, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's never about who's not in your building. It's about who is in your building. And for us, you can lose a quarterback at a lot of different times, right? December transfer portal, spring transfer portal. You can lose one week one, first quarter of a ball game in your opener, and now you're on to number two, through injury, right? And so you got to have a next guy up mentality. And at the end of the day, having the right guys that want to be there, want to compete with their brothers that are inside of that locker room, building that connection, but also having the right guys in there. And at the end of the day, I'm really excited about who we have in there. The addition of Joey, who is already inside of that group, highly competitive guys that are smart, that have the physical traits to be successful. Teammates have grown to have great trust in those guys through the course of this offseason during the summer. And now it's about getting to training camp and going competing. And somebody's going to earn the opportunity to be our starting quarterback through that process.
Mo, I'm going to say this before you start really quickly. I had a chance to listen to Josh Heupel's interview before they even asked him a question. In his introductory comments, and it's kind of open, he said, I know you're going to ask a question about the quarterback position. We're going to have a competition. So you obviously knew that he was prepped to know that the question was going to come about his quarterback situation. What I wanted to say before you started is I think he's done a really good job this offseason. The way he handled the Nico situation in the spring, the way he's kind of addressed the quarterback position, even that comment right there. Nobody's above the team, right? And we're going to talk about the guys that are in our locker room and in our building. And I think he believes in his system. And I think he's brought a lot of grace. I think no matter what Tennessee does this year, I don't think anybody's expecting them with their offense the way it's constructed right now to be in the SEC championship contender mix or even in the game. But I think he's bought himself a lot of grace and a lot of leeway with the way that he's handled things this offseason ever since they played in the bowl game that last season. That's my opinion. I know you might feel differently, but I think he's handled these things the right way.
I don't think there's any question that he's handled them the right way and continues to handle them the right way. But what resonated with me as he responded to that question is the comment. It's never about who's not in your building. And I wish there were members of the Braves fan base that got that with regards to a certain first baseman who is no longer in the building. We worry about the guys that are here. Whether it be UT, whether it be Atlanta, wherever it is, whether it be Columbia State baseball where you played, I mean, it's the guys that are there. Like you said, the guys that are fighting together for each other that are paramount. And you don't worry about who's not there. And I just think that, again, that just resonated with me. And he has continued to say that in some way, shape, or form since Nico left. And I don't know what else you expect him to say.
He does a really great job offensively. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Let's take last year out of it. I know they had their struggles, but offensively, they could put up points in a hurry. You think about it, I think of 2 of the last 3 years, they've had the SEC Player of the Year on their offense. Josh Heupel can put up points, and he can put up points in a hurry. And I think he has this confidence and swagger about himself and his play calling ability that I can put up points with anybody at quarterback. I can do that. We have that talented enough guys in our room. We believe in our scheme and we believe in our offense. You know, he even talked about their defense. Tennessee is built on having elite defenses. You think about Eric Berry, you think about Reggie White, guys that played at Tennessee on that defensive side of the ball. So they have an identity now, and I believe he believes in himself. And so I like the things that are coming out of Josh Heupel and that program. Mo, really quickly before I toss it back to you, you listed the names of the coaches and the programs that are having SEC Media Day today: Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, and Oklahoma. In my mind, all four of those coaches are on the hot seat this year. Brent Venables on the hot seat. Think about everything that Texas has done with Sarkisian, national championship, Arch Manning. They're a contender. If Oklahoma doesn't compete this year, he's on the hot seat. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer is really on the hot seat at Alabama. Definitely with the rumors that Nick Saban could be potentially looking to get back out of get back into coaching. Obviously, Billy Napier, it feels like he's been in the hot seat every year he's been at Florida. And then obviously Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State. They went 2-10 last year, didn't win an SEC game. So it looks like this is hot seat Wednesday or whatever you want to call it. But all four of those coaches, you could easily see a scenario where they could potentially get fired at the end of the year.
It's certainly warm Wednesday, and there are some who would have advocated for Billy Napier to get fired before the end of last season. I would even say that as long as DJ Lagway is there, this is probably the coolest that Billy Napier's seat has been.
Right. He saved his job. Saved his job the way he performed. But you also could say, man, if we had a different head coach with that talent, what could it be?
Hello.
Because there's no question that DJ Lagway can play. There's no question.
He's going to be fun to watch unless you're a UT fan. Meanwhile, again, here in our backyard, Clark Lee spoke on Monday, and one of the things he talked about was, trying to keep Diego Pavia as healthy as possible for as long as possible. Said, we don't talk about self-preservation, but we need to build ways in our system that do protect him. We need him to take the game over at some point, and the way he plays is the way he plays. So there's no productive conversation that comes, and there's no winning conversation that comes between me and Diego where I'm talking about him taking care of himself in a competitive moment. He needs to play to his personality. We'll protect him through our design, which is to run the football better and more effectively with folks other than the quarterback, which comes from, getting more production at that position and being more consistent and better up front. We talked to Jeff Murphy of Group of Five Guys yesterday, and the same theme exists with MTSU offensively. Got to be better up front, got to run the ball better with more authority and take some pressure off Nick Vattiato. Well, the same situation exists with Vanderbilt and around Diego Pavia. So if they can get that addressed, then they feel pretty good about their situation as well, because he certainly showed that he can. He's disgustingly talented. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, that was really quickly, that was the focus of their offseason in the transfer portal, addressing the offensive line. In the SEC, it's always one up front in the trenches, right? Offensive line, defensive line. So to be able to protect your quarterback, Clark kind of mentioned you have to save Diego from himself sometimes. He wants the ball in his hands and he wants to take off, but you have to give him avenues and resources in the offense to protect himself. He really kind of wore down as the season ended last year. He took so many hits early on in the year. Rushing the football when they got to the LSU game in Death Valley, even here when they played against Tennessee and Nashville, you could tell that he was very much limited in his mobility from all the hits he had taken throughout the course of the season. And it's a grown man's league in the SEC, so you have to protect him from those amount of hits. He's not the biggest guy, so to be able to sustain that punishment is very hard.
He's definitely not as big as he plays, 6 foot 207, but he's a former wrestler. So the toughness is beyond debate. Everything has not gone smoothly in Atlanta at SEC Football Media Days. Apparently, as Steve Sarkisian, coach of the Texas Longhorns, was introduced, apparently they play the school's fight song as the coaches come to the podium.
Yeah. of the rivalry.
Not only was it not Texas's fight song that was playing when Sark stepped up, but it was Texas A&M's fight
boy.
song. So,
oh goodness, I would have done a double take, and I stopped. I was like, we can't do this. Can't do it.
It's going to make tomorrow interesting because the final, the lineup for Thursday's finale includes Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. It'll be interesting to see what Mike Elko gets to come out to tomorrow. Speaking
Mark
of
says he has the video if you have it.
He's got the video. Play the video.
Oh, we got the spinning wheel of death.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
I'm surprised that he went up there with that playing. I really am. Like, he didn't do a double take or anything. Here we go.
At Alabama. He's married to the former L'Oreal Smith. Steve has 2 daughters, Ashley and Taylor, a son, Brady, and he and L'Oreal. Welcome to son Amias in April of 2025. The head coach at the University of Texas, Steve Sarkisian.
All righty. Welcome. It's always
He didn't even address it. He didn't address it. Not at all. I'd have called it out.
Well, I think he probably did the good thing in not addressing it, but I can certainly see where you would have said, "Whoa, what's up? We're Texas, not A&M." So again, I don't know if
we're big brother.
Well, depending on who you ask, but I don't know if they fix it with Elko tomorrow or not. Stay tuned. Meanwhile, former Kentucky coach Hal Mummy still drawing up plays. Apparently, the 74-year-old has been hired as offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Centenary College in Shreveport. 74. Coached last year as an assistant over in East Tennessee, Sullivan East, maybe. Yeah. So he's back on the college sideline. Centenary is a D3 program. They play in the SCAC, and the air raid coming soon to a D3 campus near you. Something to keep an eye out for, I think, there. So it'll be interesting. I don't know what kind of athletes you necessarily get at the Division III level in football at Centenary, which is now in its third year of reviving their program. They had shut it down in 1947. So this will be their second year. They played last year, finished 4-6 in the SCAC. So open on September 6th, do the Gents against Westgate Christian. So keep an eye out for that. Hour number 1 of Wild and Wacky Wednesday comes to a close right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for the second hour, we will be getting into the grab bag. Later in the show, we will visit with Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR, David's favorite segment. And we will close things out with Wild and Wacky Wednesday, the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the universe, as it turns out. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back in for hour number 2 of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's David Wilson. We are getting into the grab bag, and Wade Neely isn't with us, but the Wolverine fan will appreciate this little tidbit here because his favorite athletic program achieved an unprecedented feat over the weekend. Michigan infielder Mitch Voigt was selected by the New York Mets, number 38 overall. And despite there being 30 teams in Major League Baseball with compensatory picks and the like, that pick is a first-round selection. And in that, Michigan becomes the first college or university to have a first-round pick in each of the 4 major North American sports leagues: Major League Baseball, the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, and the National Hockey League. Again, Voigt going number 38 overall to the Mets. He joins number 5 pick by the Cleveland Browns, Mason Graham. Number 10 pick, Colston Loveland by the Chicago Bears. And number 13 pick, Kenneth Grant by the Miami Dolphins in this spring's NFL draft. In the NBA draft, Danny Wolf went 27th overall to Brooklyn. And in the NHL draft, William Horkoff went 24th to the Penguins. So
congrats to Michigan. Hail to the victors. I'm not going to pretend to be a Michigan guy. I'm going to make fun of Wade. It seems like his fandom's all over the place. Astros, Michigan, the Grizzlies. I think he's just picking names out of a hat. But congrats to Wade and to Michigan. You know, that's a great accomplishment. Obviously, it's never happened before, correct?
Right.
And it's not probably going to in a southern state because of hockey, right? So really, I mean, maybe Boston College, if they had a really good chance, a northern university, Notre Dame maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to happen in the South.
No, the South is pretty well precluded from that one, but still, that's a heck of an accomplishment, man. I don't know how much football. I don't know how much the school necessarily has to do with it. I mean, it's the athletes, but you got to bring them on campus and develop them and that kind of thing. I do think, just having those guys there, Michigan deserves a tip of the cap for that. I don't know how many times.
Notre Dame fan can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. No.
I don't know how many times it's happened with baseball, basketball, and football. But when you throw hockey in it, like you said, that is kind of a cut above there. So, hail to the victors. Come on, Dave. I mean, give them the props.
Think about it. Tennessee did not have a first-round pick in football this past year, but they did. Did they have a first-round pick in basketball? Baseball, they had like 5 or 6.
Four first-rounders in baseball. Chaz Lanier was drafted, but he was in the second round.
So let's go back. A couple years ago, you had Dalton Connect, right? And I'm sure you had a
Mhm.
baseball player. So I'm pretty sure Tennessee could probably get 3. They could go 3 out of 4 at least.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, for sure. News from the NBA. Apparently, Bradley Beal's buyout with the Phoenix Suns is done or getting done, and he's expected to sign a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Clippers. So
linking up with James Harden and Kawhi on the West Coast. That Phoenix experiment and all parties involved with Book and KD and Bradley Beal, it soured very bad.
Did not work. And I don't follow the NBA enough to know why it didn't work, but maybe sometimes the whole is not greater than the sum of its parts.
KD is really consistent throughout his career with his numbers. And I'm not the biggest NBA that is Wade all the way, but a lot of I've seen, even with the new CBA and the new rules, we've seen it with Boston this offseason. It's really hard money-wise to be able to have 3 superstars on your roster and to be able to afford it. That's why Boston has traded away its parts. It's not like back in the day with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and LeBron all in Miami, or the big 3, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce in Boston. It's hard to do that financially now. You can only have 2 stars under your apron. So it seemed like they didn't have probably enough role players to go around. And Bradley Beal stayed hurt last year, I believe, as well.
Yeah. Averaged 17 points a game, though, which was, one of the lower numbers that he has put up over his career, most of which was spent in Washington. So, like you said, set to go to the Clips with Harden and Kawhi, and if you get a healthy Kawhi out of that, then that
when's he going to play?
A lot easier to
picks and choose.
There's that. The Spurs have cleared Victor Wembanyama for the upcoming season and to, I guess, begin off-season work after he missed the back half of this past season with blood clot issues in his shoulder. So that's some good news for the Spurs, who could use some, with Pop stepping away earlier this year.
They're gonna be a good sneaky little team. I think they will be with Wemby, with De'Aaron Fox, with Stephon Castle. You add in Dylan Harper. I think the Spurs are gonna be a fringe playoff team. I was really kind of hoping they would get Kevin Durant. Could you imagine KD and Wemby on the same team? The length?
No, I can't actually. Nobody really talks about KD and from a defensive standpoint, but like you said, with that kind of length, those two could really cause a lot of problems on the defensive end of the floor, it feels like. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we were, a lot of teams were spared that one, I guess, with KD going to the Rockets instead. We talked about it during the rundown. Caitlin Clark aggravated the groin injury that has plagued her here over the last few weeks and had her out for like 4 games. The Fever won that game last night against the Sun, but she is questionable tonight for the Liberty. It was in the 4th quarter that she aggravated that. Walked the length of the floor in obvious pain after a assist to Kelsey Mitchell in the 4th quarter, and just felt a little something in her groin, so we'll get it evaluated and see what happens from there, according to Stephanie White. But it's tough, for the Fever to deal with her and her injury situation, and with the All-Star game coming up, and she is the captain of one of the teams, she's going to want to play in that. And as we were talking about Diego Pavia, sometimes you got to save athletes from themselves. I think it'll be interesting to see how they handle that situation over the weekend. Obviously, the WNBA All-Star game is there in Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. She is a captain. She's going to want to play, but she's got this injury, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, so much is asked of her. She's obviously the face of the league, right? And, a lot of people are buying tickets to come to watch her play. And so I understand that pressure of you want to go out there and perform and do what you do, but you also have to protect yourself, right? And, this injury's kind of been nagging her. might be best for her to sit a while to make sure that it's fully healed. It seems like this is a reoccurring theme. As you mentioned, she sat out the Commissioner's Cup championship with that injury. So this is something that's been nagging her, as you mentioned, for a while.
And you've been around athletics, you played athletics, muscles in particular, you don't really know if they're healed or not until you find out they're not. I mean, when you think you're good, you probably need to take another couple of games, days, whatever, to make sure. And that's you would just hate to see her be hampered by this throughout the season. The fever has obviously made some strides and made some improvements and that kind of thing. And you'd like for her to be around when things really count late in the regular season, going into the postseason, that kind of thing. And, if it takes her sitting a little extra to be sure she's got that right, then hopefully cooler heads will prevail because, like you said, she draws a lot of eyes and you want her on the floor when it counts most, I think. So, speaking of the WNBA, an old team is returning. The Portland Fire rolled out its new logo and other graphics yesterday in preparation for their debut next season. They will become the 14th team in the current WNBA. There's the logos there. Pretty snazzy looking stuff. Again, Portland played what, 3 seasons back in the early aughts from 2000 to 2002 before they ceased to exist. And they're coming back again as the Fire. Again, they will be the 15th team. The Valkyries coming in this year as 13. Toronto and Portland both come online next year. So it's pretty good stuff.
Still kind of bitter we can't get one here in Nashville. I know that's down the road, but it seems like it would be a great market. Obviously, with the presence that the Tennessee Lady Vols in their heyday had within the state of Tennessee, really nationally, that Nashville and the state of Tennessee in particular would be a nice hotbed for women's basketball in the W.
It feels like a fit. I don't know if it's them going to existing NBA markets that's a priority.
Well, it helps those ownership groups are already in place, right? So the staffs can work and accommodate that. Yeah.
And also, I guess maybe there's some question about they want the W teams to have dedicated facilities for practicing and that kind of thing. And until there's that's one of those never-ending circles, I guess, because I don't know that anybody's necessarily going to build one of those until they know they're getting a team. And I don't know if you're getting a team until you have one of those. And so we just kind of continue to go around and around. But I'd be interested to know just where Nashville and Tennessee were in the expansion conversations. Apparently, they have settled on where they're going to be going between now and 2030. So the earliest we might see a team here would be 2031, and maybe that would give investors and that group time to get a few more things lined up and in place to get a team. I would agree with you, and it just feels like this place would support a WNBA team. I don't think you have to look any further than this past winter with Athletes Unlimited and the job that they did here and the job that the fans did here with that to know that it would work. So, hopefully it's just a case of us being patient and that coming through. We got news from the golf world earlier today. Wyndham Clark, former, I don't guess you're former. Once you're a U.S. Open champion, you're always a U.S. Open champion, but he won it back in 23. Well, earlier this year, did not have a great performance at Oakmont, took it out on a locker, did some damage in the clubhouse there. Oakmont answered by barring Wyndham Clark from the property. Missed the cut, killed a locker, and now he is not allowed at the club until a number of specific conditions are met, including full repayment for damages, a meaningful contribution to a charity of the board's choosing, and the successful completion of counseling and or anger management sessions. So again, Wyndham Clark misses the cut at the U.S. Open at Oakmont, kicks in a locker, and apparently this came after some similar shenanigans at Quail Hollow earlier this year. I made a mistake that I deeply regret. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry for what happened, but I'd also like to move on, not only for myself, but for Oakmont, for the USGA, and kind of focus on the rest of this year and things that come up. I still want to try to make the Ryder Cup team. I still am on the outside looking in for the FedEx Cup, so I'm starting to move on and focus on those things. Okay. I guess making this ban a little easier to take is I don't think Oakmont is due to host the U.S. Open again until 2033. So Clark wouldn't necessarily be going back there anytime soon, but
he's got some time to fulfill his obligations.
He's got some time to fulfill his obligations, and hopefully he can get that done. But yeah, he is off limits to Oakmont, or Oakmont is off limits to him more specifically. So it's unfortunate. Got to be better than that, as the guy says on that insurance commercial, I guess. Finally, here in the grab bag, we talked about the Nashville Soccer Club coming back to Geodis Park tonight for a matchup with the Columbus Crew. They will be debuting a new kit, as they say in soccer parlance, or a new fit, as the youngsters say. They're calling it the Nashville Nostalgia Kit. And it's a little bit of a departure from the colors. I mean, the boys in gold will not be in gold tonight when they hit the pitch. Little two-tone blue action
blue
there. Yeah,
little snazzy.
I like it. It's kind of cool. This will be the first third jersey in NSC's history. Nashville being one of 10 MLS clubs to get a third jersey this year. There it is. Producer Mark throwing it up. A little throwback lettering and that kind of thing. Kind of looks like the old Opryland logo for those of us who were around for that. So it's a nice look. And they'll be wearing that tonight when the Columbus Crew comes into town. I don't know how much more wear they'll get out of it past tonight, but those jerseys are also on sale, apparently. Wade was in the merch station over there, I guess, earlier today. So I don't know if he's going to be sporting one when he comes back tomorrow or not, but we'll see how that goes.
I'm sure he will be. I'm sure he will be. He stays in tune with all those things.
He really does, man. He is a fashion maven, does a great job with all that. So looking forward to what kit Wade will be sporting when he gets back with us for Throwback Thursday tomorrow. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be joined by Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back into Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's David Wilson. I'm Maurice Patton, and we anxiously await Heather Williams's laptop to reboot. You know how you get those unexpected, untimely updates that your computer forces on you? Heather's in the midst of one of those. So she should be here forthwith, as they say. But when she gets here, we'll obviously be talking about Shane Van Gisbergen and his back-to-back wins. He's picking up his second one this weekend out at Sonoma. Did not win the Xfinity race as he did at Chicago, but did win the Cup Series as he did at Chicago. He's really coming into his own, taking advantage of his road racing background, and kind of fun to see. And, you know, we are a track house station, so that's good stuff there. Again, Heather Williams going to share some insight with us as soon as she gets here.
Did you watch Saturday's race, the Xfinity Series race with him and Connor Zilic putting on an absolute show at the front of the field at Sonoma? Zilic driving for Junior Motorsports, another Chevrolet. But those two put on a show at the front of the field. I saw a crazy stat, like of the 150 fastest laps, they had like 149 of them. So they were just absolutely running away from the field. So those two put on a show in the Xfinity Series on Saturday in wine country.
Well, speaking of putting on a show, Heather Williams from WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, fashionably late to Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. No, so, Heather, we've all been there, man. I get it.
Yeah, don't you love it when your computer's like, you need to update, and you just go ignore, and you go ignore, and then it's finally like, oh, I don't care. Right now is when we're going to update. So
I've never had the ignore option. I didn't know that was a thing, but
well, you can only ignore for so long.
You don't either.
For only so long can you ignore. And then it's like, oh no, we're doing this, and we're doing this right now.
Right now. There we go. There we go. And it's always when you got something specific to do, like come on our show. So.
Exactly. But I'm here now. You know, it's kind of like your show is Shane Van Gisbergen, and I'm the rest of the field. It just goes on without me.
Tell us about SVG. I mean, you said he was a favorite going out here, that this track was right in his wheelhouse, and sure enough, he produced.
Well, I mean, he's just so much better on road courses than everybody else. And I mean everybody else, because there have been lots of drivers who have tried to come from other series that are road course specific and drive this car to a moderate amount of success. There was a time where if you were not in the points battle and you were not particularly good at road course racing, you would lose your ride for a weekend to a road course ringer, they used to call them. And none of those people ever won a race. I mean, Dan Gurney, I guess, back in the day at Riverside, but that was years ago. In recent history, none of those guys ever won a race. I mean, Scott Pruitt and Ron Fellows and all of those folks, you know, more recently, we had Jensen Button from F1. All these people have come over, Scott Speed, and they've never been able to translate their success in a stock car, because driving a stock car is very different than driving these other disciplines of cars. A series supercar racing, which is where SVG comes, is close enough because Marcus Ambrose he also made that jump, had a mild amount of success in Cup. He won a couple of races. But SVG is not only winning, he is killing people. He is dominating. I mean, the only person in 5 races of running these road courses that's been able to be close to him is Connor Zillage. And Connor Zillage, I think everybody agrees, is a generational talent. I mean, Daniel Suarez is losing his ride because Connor Zillage is sitting there. That's it. That's the list of people who can run with him with any kind of pace of speed. And you hear other drivers talk about it. And when other drivers are saying, when you finish second to SVG, it's like a win, that just tells you how good he is. And that's what Chase Briscoe said on Sunday. He's like, I finished second to SVG. I feel like I won.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, to hear another competitor say that, for public consumption like that, that's pretty wild. I saw this when Wade and I were talking about it earlier in the week, Heather. This is SVG's 4th win in 34 starts. He's the quickest to 4 wins in Cup Series racing since Parnelli Jones won his 4th race in his 31st Cup start in 1967.
Yeah. And granted, the Cup Series is different, right? Because there are 6 road course races if you count the street course race. So in the past, there were not as many of one kind of track, I guess maybe short track racing, if you could have brought a short track specialist in, that were a specific skill set that he could have that nobody else has. But I mentioned short track racing. Josh Berry is a short track ace, considered a specialist, and he's actually yet to win on a short track in the Cup Series. And now in the Xfinity Series he did. So it's still not as easy as SVG makes it look. He makes it look like a drive on a Sunday afternoon. It's much more complicated than that, and he is an exceptional talent.
Heather Williams, WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Again, SVG picks up his 2nd win in as many weeks. Chase Elliott was 3rd. Is that right? I'm looking for results here.
I think that's correct.
My computer is not cooperating either, Heather, so don't feel bad. Yeah. But yeah, it was SVG, the chases, and then you've got Michael McDowell 4th and Christopher Bell 5th. I'm not sure exactly what that did for the in-season challenge here, but we are down to the final 4 there.
We are. And let me just tell you something. If the final 4, if your name is Ty, you're in good shape.
You got
the final 4 is Tyler and John Hunter Nemechek. So Ty Gibbs against Tyler Reddick on one side of the bracket, and John Hunter Nemechek against Ty Dillon on the other side of the bracket.
That is 37, 23rd seeded Tyler Reddick, 12th seeded John Hunter Nemechek, and 6th seeded Ty Gibbs, by the way.
Correct.
Now, again,
yes,
the brackets got blown up at Atlanta 3 weeks ago, but still, you would have figured at some point the number 32 seed would have got knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, and let me tell you, he's run really well in this series, in this challenge, but he also was racing basically position for position against Alex Bowman, and he moved him out of the way. He pushed him out of the way, didn't wreck him, but definitely punted him. It's like, excuse me, I have $1 million to go win. And it means more for him, right? Because Alex is looking big picture because he's still in the playoff hunt, right? So he's not going to push the issue because he needs as many points as he can playoff wise. 32nd in points or wherever Ty Dillon is now, 30 something in points. He's not going to the postseason unless he wins a race. So this $1 million challenge is a chance for him to win $1 million, to have a piece of hardware, to do something for his team in college racing that doesn't win a ton. AJ Allmendinger on the road courses is usually their best bet. Now the SVGs in there, that's not even a great bet anymore. So, it just meant more to him. And so he shoved Alex Bowman out of the way and said, thank you very much. I'm on to the Final Four.
That wasn't the only if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing incident at Sonoma, apparently. Hendersonville's Josh Berry and one of our favorites, Carson Hochevar, got into it as well, I guess.
Gosh, poor Carson. Can he just, but to be fair, to me, it kind of looked, it's hard to tell. Like, watching it live, it definitely looked like that Carson got punted. Watching it back, it looks like maybe he chopped him off a little bit. It's hard to tell, but it would be nice for Carson if he could just have one race without an incident where we don't have to talk about him. Because, in this stretch, he's gone from being, pretty close to the playoffs to being within striking distance and being able to maybe point his way in, to now with 6 races left, he's going to have to win a race if he wants to get into the playoffs, which isn't out of the prospect of possibility, except for everyone around him has now made it more difficult because he's made enough people angry that it's going to be more difficult to pass people, to get a break. Maybe this incident happened because Josh Berry was tired of him and didn't cut him a break. I don't know what was going through Josh's head, but that's a distinct possibility. And that's going to happen more and more because as you anger more and more people, they're not going to cut you breaks or not. And on television, when Amazon was doing the broadcast, Carl Edwards spoke to that exact thing, and he had one of those moments with Mark Martin where he was told, I'm going to race you the way you race me. So he didn't get breaks anymore. It became more difficult until Carl was able to find that balance. And I think a lot of drivers have to have that moment. I mean, there are certainly the Busch brothers, Carl had that moment. Ross Chastain's had that moment. Like, you have that moment where you have to figure out how to keep all the aggressiveness and all the everything that you have, but still finesse it and know when to push it and when to not. Down multiple laps, don't push it because you're not gaining anything by pushing it at that point. So Carson's still been a little rebellious on that, but there is going to be a moment where he's going to have to figure it out so that he can go off and achieve the greatness that he's capable of. And if he doesn't, it's going to be more difficult.
It happens. It's part of racing.
It's part of growing up.
But
I mean, we all had that moment, even outside of racing.
But you don't typically see it between teammates. And it was funny that you mentioned Ross Chastain, because Chastain and soon-to-be former teammate Daniel Suarez got into each other about midway through the race as well.
And I will tell you,
I guess.
I will tell you that I don't think that those two ever really got along as teammates. They've never said a bad word about each other. They've never publicly said anything. But I always got the sense when you asked them a question about each other, the answer was more diplomatic than complimentary. And so
they kind of had to take a deep breath before they responded, huh?
Right. So I don't think they ever, they weren't spending, summer vacation or winter vacation in the NASCAR, in the Bahamas together. That just wasn't their thing. So I think that now that they're not going to be teammates anymore, it was just a chance for them to be themselves. I don't think there's any, I don't think they hate each other. I just don't think that they're best friends. So now it doesn't matter because they're not going to be teammates in 4 months, 5 months.
And to your point about racing you like you race me, that was about Suarez's response. Telling the team at the time, you better hope I don't get to him today. Suarez did finish 14th But Suarez said a conversation might be warranted, and if it doesn't happen, he's going to get it back. So long memories in the Cup Series.
Well, and
or especially amongst teammates.
Well, and Ross has more to lose in this situation than Daniel. Daniel's currently not in the playoffs. He's the only person from Trackhouse not in the playoffs, but he doesn't have a job next year. So, if he doesn't make the playoffs, it doesn't affect anything, right? He doesn't have a job with Trackhouse. He probably already is close to having a job lined up, but not with Trackhouse. So if he retaliates or punts or makes things difficult for Ross, what does that matter for him, right? He's not going to be there next year. What could they do? Take him out of the car early?
Fire me? Yeah.
Right. He's already been fired. So Ross has way more to lose in this in this dilemma than Daniel does. So he might want to make amends, or at least clear the air.
A man with nothing to lose can be a dangerous man, especially driving around a 3,000-pound vehicle, right?
Right. I wouldn't see anything happening anytime soon because of the tracks that we're going to. You're not going to punt someone or wreck someone at Dover or Indianapolis, but Watkins Glen is not too far down the road. Richmond is not too far down the road. Those are the types of tracks where drivers can make things very difficult for you, make your day very long.
Heather, you kind of mentioned earlier 6 road courses on the NASCAR schedule. Back in the day, it just used to be 2. And Brad Keselowski, the last couple of weeks on social media, has kind of been open of NASCAR kind of getting away from its background of ovals and short tracks. And it's really kind of expanded its road course selection. There's been rumors about them going to San Diego next year. What's that balance like for NASCAR to open itself up to different markets and audiences like Chicago? With the street course race, but also stick to traditionally what its bread and butter is.
See, now this is where I actually disagree with Brad, because the tradition of NASCAR isn't actually as a closed circuit sport. NASCAR actually started with bootleggers racing on the open streets, moving moonshine. And then they moved to Daytona, where they raced half on the beach and half on the street. So the way back history of NASCAR is actually closer to street course racing and road course racing than it is to closed off ovals. But to his point, I do understand that we used to not go to a lot of road courses. And I do think 6 should be the top end, like the most that we do, and not the floor. So I don't think we should do any more than 6 races. If we're going to add San Diego, then something needs to come off. I think Coda's already wrapped up. Obviously, Watkins Glen and Sonoma are on the schedule every year. So then you have to start figuring out what else. I get the sense we're probably not going back to Mexico City next year. I could be wrong, but I feel like if we were, because of all the planning and stuff that has to go in there, that probably would already be out there. I don't know that for sure. The same thing with San Diego. I would say if we're actually going to San Diego, that kind of decision is going to have to be made soon. I know that when we went to Chicago, that was actually announced almost a year and a half before we went up there. We were up there doing media days 6 months before we went up there. So I feel like we're going to learn more soon. But I do think that 6 is the ceiling. There has been some talk about moving off the Roval back to the traditional oval at Charlotte. And I think that is starting to gain some steam. I know that Charlotte Motor Speedway loves the Roval because it lets them differentiate their 2 races, but the racing is so good on the oval that I think they might be convinced to change that. So that would give you an extra date to run a road course somewhere else. But I think the racing's really good. I think that it gives a different group of guys a chance to showcase their skills. And I honestly think that if NASCAR drivers really want to claim that they're the best drivers in the world, that they need to run a diverse amount of tracks. You can't claim to be this is why I think F1 drivers don't have as much stake, in my opinion, on being the best in the world, because they only run one kind of race. They only run on the streets. They only run, street courses and road courses. How can you be the best if you can't do it all? Right? Steph Curry is an amazing player. Does anyone think Steph Curry's the GOAT? No, because he has no inside game and he has very little defense. He's the best shooter of all time. not the best player of all time. That's Jordan or LeBron, depending on who you are. For me, it's Jordan. Young kids probably say LeBron, but they have a way more diverse game than Steph Curry or Larry Bird, you know? So for us old people who was Steph before Steph, but so I feel the same way in racing. If you want to be the GOAT, if you want to consider to be the best there is, you have to diversify. So I disagree with Brad, and Denny Hamlin kind of jumped on that too in that regard. Our history is on street racing, and B, if you want to be the best, you got to do it all.
Really quickly before we transition on, Heather, obviously we headed the Monster Mile in Dover this weekend. Who do you have your eye on? Obviously the playoff bubble is really tightening with Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, all they're trying to fight. Can they make it on points? Do they have to win? Who do you have your eye on? And any potential maybe first-time winners that happened this weekend in Dover?
So Dover is it's challenging. It's concrete. Like Nashville and like Bristol, which is a whole different sort of challenges. It gives drivers that have a little bit more experience an advantage because it is so challenging. And so, I think the traditional guys like your Hamlins, your Christopher Bells, your William Byrons are always going to be kind of the favorites on that track. But because it is a high-speed oval, there is an opportunity for someone who has speed that might hit the right strategy or have good qualifying, like a Carson Hocevar or a Bubba Wallace, who haven't won this year, to possibly get in there and get a win. But traditionally, Dover is for the more experienced guys. Usually do better there.
Forget about the playoffs. Who's going to win this in-season challenge? Who wins these two matchups, Dylan Nemechek and Reddick Gibbs this weekend?
I mean, the way Dylan's luck is gone, it's hard to bet against him. But on paper, looking at the two races that are left, on paper, this really should be Tyler Reddick's challenge to lose. He has by far the best numbers of the four remaining drivers at Dover and in Indianapolis. But like I said, I don't know. When you see that playoff team that just whatever reason has, the angel sitting on their shoulder and the kiss,
right?
It's just really hard to pick again. I'm probably gonna pick Ty Dillon to beat John Hunter Nemechek, which the numbers say that's ridiculous. But he has something working for him for whatever reason.
Heather, we could not let you go without asking you about, and I want to be sure I get this name right, and I can't find what I'm looking for. Is it Cody Miller?
Oh, yeah, from ETSU.
Mm-hmm. Who the Braves selected? Give us your scouting report.
Great kid. Really great kid, hard worker, really improved his power numbers this year compared to the previous 3 years. Head coach Joe Panucci, ETSU, loves him. We actually talked to Cody and to Joe today in a Zoom about him being drafted. And Panucci loves him. He was drafted. He played shortstop for ETSU, but he also played a little third base his freshman year for ETSU because they had an established shortstop there. He could probably play second base too. And he said, actually in the Zoom, if they tell me to move to the outfield, I'll move to the outfield. Like, I'll do whatever. He said, I consider myself a baseball player, not a shortstop. So you will love the kid. Like, he's a good kid, a hard worker, and everybody on the team at ETSU this year did this, but hits the snot out of the ball. Like, he can hit, and is a really good athlete and can cover a lot of field and a lot of ground in the infield as well. But you got a good one. He's a great guy, and he grew up around baseball. He was a bat boy, I believe, for Joe Panucci's team when Joe was at coaching up in the Northeast as an assistant coach. So Joe's the head coach at ETSU, who's known him forever, and just a solid baseball player with a huge upside and a huge ceiling.
Well, as Braves fans, we like to hear that. So,
and he grew up a Braves fan. He grew up a Braves fan.
Nice. Very good.
So
Very
even though
good.
he's from upstate New York, his dad watched the Braves because like a lot of people, became a Braves fan because they were on Superstation all the time. And so he was able to watch them every day. So he became a Braves fan. And so his family's super excited. And he's a Braves fan because his dad was. So this is a dream come true scenario for him. And I think he'll be great for you all.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to that. Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Heather, as always, we appreciate it. Glad you got your computer updated. Now we don't have to worry about that next Wednesday.
Oh, that's the hope, right? Computers are computers.
That is true. That is true.
By the way,
appreciate it.
3 weeks.
Yes?
3 weeks to the Speedway Classic.
Yeah, Cody Miller will probably be there, I guess, since it's right there in his backyard. If he's not signed by then, me, not so much. Yeah,
Not so much. Not coming down.
Yeah, I'm afraid not. Well, I've heard horror stories about the hotels. I don't know where the closest one is at this point. Probably Knoxville.
My spare bedroom.
Oh, well, no, that's different. We might have to talk then. Yeah, we'll get back with you.
That hotel still has availability.
Yeah, that's it. We'll talk to you. Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Sounds good. Let's take a break here. Let's get to our final segment. It is Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports today. When we come back, David and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the universe. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
Science.
It's the final segment of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's David Wilson. I'm Maurice Patton. It is time for Wild and Wacky Wednesday, the weirdest, wild, and wackiest news from, well, as I said earlier, across, across the universe. Couple of intergalactic occurrences gracing our Wild and Wacky segment here. About 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, folks across the Southeast saw a bright object streaking through the sky and appearing to crash to Earth. Well, it turns out it was a meteor known as a bolide, B-O-L-I-D-E. The sightings came primarily from Georgia and South Carolina, midday, between 12 and 1, basically. A piece of meteor, or pieces of meteors, were found um, the meteor was estimated to be about the size of a shopping cart as it fell. First spotted over Oxford, Georgia. I'm not familiar with Oxford, but broke apart over West Forest, Georgia, according to a scientist with NASA's Meteoroid Environments Office in Huntsville. It unleashed an energy of about 20 tons of TNT. That doesn't sound light. And again, was detected by multiple weather radars across the Southeast. Upwards of 200 people saw it. It was a bright fireball. It did have a bright tail that disappeared with it, left behind a smoke trail. Yeah, it was the talk of the town for a minute there. One resident of Henry County, Georgia, reported a rock coming through the roof of their home about the time they heard the sonic boom. So you don't see that every day, and you typically don't see it during the day. First time to ever see an event in daylight like this, said a guy from north of Atlanta. So it's wild and wacky.
I don't know how I would react driving down. This looks like the interstate. How I would react driving down the interstate if I saw something like that out of my windshield. I'd be very confused, maybe a little concerned.
Both.
Probably a mix of both.
Yeah, I think
Do
it'd
I
be a little
stop?
tough. I think it'd be kind of tough to keep your mind on your driving if you saw something like that. So, yeah, let's hope we don't. Meanwhile, speaking of meteors, an auction in New York drew 5.3 million with an M dollars for a 54-pound rock that was discovered in the Sahara Desert almost 2 years ago, having been blown off the surface of Mars by a massive asteroid strike and dropping to Earth. The largest piece of Mars ever found on Earth. Again, sold for 5.3 mil. What do you do with something like that?
Yeah, that's the question I was asking. I don't know if I would. No offense to Mars and those who love, the planets and all that. I don't know if I would chunk up 5.3 million if I had it, of course. That's not in the budget for that piece of rock that's just going to sit on the mantle.
I don't even know if it's going to sit on the mantle at 54 pounds, though, David. That better be one hell of a
where do you
mantle.
put it? Where do you put can go in the storage unit for 5.3 million?
I don't know. I mean, do you put it underneath a glass coffee table or something? I mean, I don't know what you do with that.
There, look at my $5.3 million rock I bought. That's, good grief.
I will tell you this though: if I did buy it, you are going to see it.
Oh yeah, at that price, yeah, it's going to be the first thing you see when you walk in the door.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I'm inviting folks over for no other reason than to see my $5 million rock.
I might charge a cover.
That'd be one way to get it back. Yeah. Although I guess if you buy it, you're not necessarily worried about getting it back. I don't know. That's beyond my grasp. I mean, the way my checking account is set up, that's not happening. A little closer to home, an amusement park ride at Cedar Point made its debut earlier this month, and I guess they did not necessarily have a shakedown cruise for it.
Oh boy.
Siren's Curse experienced a delay when riders reached the tilt coasters area of the track, where the passenger car is stopped to turn on a 45-degree angle, according to the Akron Beacon Journal. These people were suspended for 10 minutes in a vertical position. The ride was closed for about 25 minutes before resuming normal operation. I don't know how it resumed normal operation because I don't know who got on it after that. Not this guy.
You gotta be willing to risk some things. You must be a daredevil. If it gets suspended like that, I'm gonna suspend my butt to the car. And we're
Yeah,
gone.
yeah. If I get down, I'm never getting on anything quite like that again. The coaster safety system performed as designed. The ride was restarted and guests continued their ride. Sirens Curse reopened shortly after, and all guests exited the ride safely. No, y'all.
Oh,
that's
boy.
that's no, just no. No.
Some of them have no care in the world. They're just going.
Clearly, I mean, I don't know. I
I would be
know
like,
what to
"Are
do
you
with
sure
that.
you want to get on this ride? Are you positive?"
This ride was just stuck up there. No. I wouldn't get on it to start with, but certainly after that. So
No, I'm good
I'm
on
not
that.
I'm not a thrill seeker though. I'm so maybe. Lifeguards at Florida's Flagler Beach about a week ago rescued a white-tailed deer. How the deer got to the water is a huge question, obviously, but again, a handful of lifeguards, a senior lifeguard and a first-year lifeguard, saw the deer struggling in rough waters during a heavy rain, were able to get the deer onto a rescue board and get him back to shore. It's unclear how long the deer had been in the water or how far it had traveled. My guess is that it traveled a pretty good distance because you don't typically see deer on the beach.
You don't.
Yeah. So good for those guys. That's when they said lifeguard, I don't think they necessarily had deer in mind. But again,
No.
good on them. That's going to do it for Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join us again tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It'll be me and Wade. David, we appreciate you, and we'll be seeing more of you soon. But for right now, it'll be me and Wade tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Join us. We'll see y'all then.